Scott Breard, chairman of DiRōNA. We're here today for another episode of Partner Profiles, and I'm excited to have with me Frazer Nagy from Tablz. Frazer, good to have you with us.
Thanks so much for having me on. This is great.
Good stuff. Now, Tablz, I think for a lot of DiRōNA restaurateurs, this might be their first introduction to the company. I'm excited because I know your story and the possibilities that this brings for restaurateurs. But tell us about Tablz. Tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And myself, I come from a restaurant background where I've worked in the industry since I was 13. So my very first job was, banquet hall, golf course, busboy, all the way to, bartending, garde manger, you name it. I helped open some restaurants in my 20s too. And something that, really was instilled into me from an early age was this, that, as cliche as it sounds, guys, we're in the hospitality business. Every good manager would say, we're in the hospitality business. We'd go through our guest list before, our reservation notes. And ultimately, there seemed to be this disconnect still to me because here we are going into 2023 or, in the summer 2023. And it's actually the 25-year anniversary of the open table reservation widget. Right? And every single other platform has done this. Resi, Seven Rooms, Talk, you name it. They've always copied that widget. And to me, it's always been so strange. Despite being in the hospitality industry, what is the first thing that we do to our guests? Well, we give them this boring widget where you can see 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. That's it. That's our first step of our hospitality. It never really made sense to me. This simple act of, as we'll get into today, of upgrading your table or matching that experience in that section of that restaurant that person is looking for, whether it's a quiet section, a lively section, that booth, that window. Each of ours are, we look at from Tablz perspective, our industry from a real estate perspective, as well as that hospitality. And so what Tablz does for our restaurant partners is very simple. We work with their existing reservation systems, like that open table, like that Resi, like that Talk. We layer on top of it. And we are a guest service tool that helps our partners meet the needs of the top 20% of their customers. And we enable those guests from the very beginning, and we'll go through some great demos, off their website, off Instagram, from the reservation system itself, enable them to upgrade their experience if they choose. And it starts with a table. Are they booth people? Are they window people? Are they that 2 top for their anniversary? Are they an 8 top trying to find a great group table? And Tablz enables them to upgrade. Sometimes it's free. Sometimes it's $5. Sometimes it's $100 or $200. It depends on your restaurant, depends on the table, depends on the time. And the last thing I'll leave you with here is that, not only is this amazing for your guests, they've always wanted this. And, I'd love to talk more about the desire from the customer, but for the restaurateur and your partners, it is the first dollar they'll ever make that has no cost of goods. So when we're selling $10,000, $20,000, we have a partner that might do 6 figures. Looks like they're trending towards $110,000 this year on just table upgrades. I'm sure everyone here watching this can do their pencil math of what that top line revenue equivalency is. It's a big number. And we're perhaps, myself coming from an operator side, is most excited about that first and foremost.
No doubt. I think the best analogy that you gave me that really the light bulb moment went off for us here at DiRōNA was day to day, we upgrade our train tickets or our plane tickets and sit somewhere more comfortable. This is the first chance anybody, prior to going to a restaurant, will have actual knowledge of where they're sitting. And you're right, if it's a special anniversary, birthday, family get together, they're going to know exactly where in that restaurant they're sitting. And I wonder how many restaurateurs as an entrepreneur and a pretty savvy business person, this concept had never crossed my mind. I think it's brilliant that it crossed yours. But most restaurateurs watching this will probably stop and go, I never even thought of that as a revenue stream. And coming from COVID, the pandemic, increase in prices, how much do they really want to increase, prices on menus? It's a real tough decision to make as a restaurant owner. It's a fantastic idea to add right to the bottom line. So we're excited to be a part of the ride with you for sure.
Well, exactly that. You touched on 2 points. We're an industry with one lever, food and beverage. That's our only revenue lever. Do we increase it more? Do we reduce it? Do we offer discounts to get more people? And it's really tough when you only have one lever, because when you have inflation, when you have labor shortages, and then you have price, people will only spend so much on a steak, on a burger. And you can't just jump it. Even when we have costs that are 15%. The average person can't handle that. So I think what's really exciting is that not only is it your first no cost revenue lever, but just the fact that we have more in our toolkits. We're big fans of other initiatives. Obviously, so many of us learned how to do e-commerce, through COVID and all these other really great programs. But I think when it comes down to it, we're sitting on this real estate. We don't have to go through and figure out a whole new business model. This is something that people already want. So the lift to reward element is so much in the restaurant's favor. And, you use that analogy of, the airline or first, courtside tickets or upgrading your hotel room. You're right. Everyone has done this, except for us. And I think it's so important for us to figure out our model. And the way I was thinking about it, there's two ways I think about the airline industry, right? And it's, imagine what Delta's economics would look like if every single seat was the same price. Right? They didn't have first class, they didn't have comfort plus, they didn't have extra leg room. It's sort of like a restaurant. We charge the same, whether it's Saturday at 7 p.m. or Monday at 5 p.m. Very different demand and supply, right, for those two time frames. But then it hit me the other day. I also thought of it from a guest service perspective. Imagine if you were a first class flyer, or like me, I'm an extra legroom guy now. I don't have the income as a first class flyer, but I'm 6'1". I need extra legroom. And imagine if Delta used OpenTable for their bookings. And it wasn't just that they couldn't charge more for that guest service, but you as a first class flyer had a 1 in 20 chance of getting first class. You would lose your mind. You would never, you would refuse, right? And this is unfortunately actually how we look at our hospitality. Outside of our super VIPs, like I know John Smith, I know Susan Roberts, I know those VIPs that come in every week, every month. They want their martini a certain way. They want their cream next to their coffee. But those are really, if we looked in the mirror, I know maybe 0.2% of my super VIPs, right? But Tablz cares about that 20%. Again, everyone in first class, comfort plus, extra legroom, that 20% drives, some restaurants have told us 50%, 60, some as high as 70% of their revenue on an annual basis. And yet those people are treated the same as the 80% that fly coach. Those everyday people that are still matter to our business. And that's what we're hyper focused on. And we work with individual restaurants and properties to really look at their floor plans, look at their reservation flows. And again, this is no cost to you because we share in that profit. We can talk about, I'm sure we'll talk about the business model. But that's what, if I can hammer one point home, we care about that segment of your guests, and we're looking at ways of servicing their needs different than everyone else. And that's worth, we know for our partners it's worth a lot. I'm sure it's worth a lot to your network.
Right. So let's get into what's involved for a restaurateur when they are with Tablz. Is it labor intensive? Is it easy for them? What's involved for the restaurant owner right now who's going, wow, this sounds great, but what do I have to do? What's involved in my already busy week? What's involved from the restaurateur to do?
Great news. Super simple. And we're not just saying that. This isn't like switching to a new POS system. Like this is because you get to, which could take months, weeks of training, because you keep your existing reservation system and you pick which one you like. I keep using OpenTable as an example because they're the biggest, they're the ones that are around the longest, but hey, I love using that as a maitre d' and as a host. And if that's the one for you, you use that. So you pick the horse in your race. We're not betting on anyone in particular. We work with everyone. So that's first and foremost. You keep the system that works best for you. We layer on top of that. So what you need to do as an operator is we need to first shoot your restaurant. So 3D scan it. I'll show you some examples here. So one of your proud partners, Gina and Giorgetti, Chicago. Well, quite simply, if you were to traditionally go on their website or their Instagram or wherever their booking is, again, they would just be giving you that, classic OpenTable widget, 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. What happens now is after we scan, we actually build Gina and Giorgetti a custom web app that goes into their website. And we ask that restaurant, we get that restaurant to ask their guests for the first time ever 2 options. Hey, do you want to upgrade your seat or do you want to sit anywhere? So OpenTable is still your quarterback. That is the system you use during service and forever. So we actually take old Tablz bookings and put that in your OpenTable or in your Resi or in your 7 rooms. So this is really, really important. We are not competing with this. We layer and we make that experience even better. But as you can see, actually 67 to 72% of people click to navigate the dining room and find, this different experience. But again, it all ends up back there. So what you're seeing is a pretty traditional booking flow right now. Let's pick 9 p.m. for this upcoming Friday. And in this case, there's, we're looking at 2 key tables for Gina and Giorgetti. I'm going to show you examples where restaurants are using upwards of 10, 20 tables. And we're looking to work with Gina and Giorgetti to actually do some private events and group bookings as well. Because if you've ever been in this restaurant, they have this beautiful, obviously really cool bar, lounge downstairs, but then really big group rooms. So every property is different. And we know that even if you're a group that has a chain or one property to the next it's a living, breathing creature. So here you see, well, for $25 on this Friday, I can upgrade and I can guarantee myself at this table. And this is, as you can sort of see in the description here, from Fleetwood Mac to Sting, a lot of great people sat in this historic restaurant, and it's really exciting for them to tell that story. Where if we look at the Frank Sinatra booth, well, it looks like actually this is sold out already on that Friday, which is pretty cool. So there's a couple availabilities at other times and all of these flip times are customizable. So if we switch up our time, well, we can get this table at 9:45. So I think again, I'll end here for a second. I can show a few more examples, but everything that you do today with your operations, all your flip times, if it's 2 hours or 3 hours, your seating arrangements, we just mirror what you are doing with your reservation system. And we're enabling, again, the guests to have this beautiful experience of navigating your dining room and helping, make those selections. And this Frank Sinatra booth, it looks like it could make Gina and Giorgetti, just this table, $10,000 this year. They're trying it up to around that number. So pretty exciting.
Incredible. So to the restaurateurs, they have full control over what tables they allow to be a part of Tablz and what table pricing they want to charge for bookings, correct? Completely up to the restaurateur, what's involved.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so exactly that. We actually help sort of consult on that number. So, Gina and Giorgetti, we laid it at $25. They sell that 2 to 3 times every flip, a night. So they're looking at almost $100 extra that night in pure profit, Thursday through Saturday. They're selling this thing on Tuesdays as well, but depends on the time. Like 5 p.m., for example, could be free. So, and then on Monday could be free. So we really work, and you look, we act as sort of a guide. Not only are we a concierge for the guests, but we act as sort of like a consultant at the start for you. We've found sometimes we've underpriced tables, and at times we've maybe gone a little too high, and we're always working with our partners to adjust that.
Right. It's a very easy system for the restaurateurs to log in, access, permit tables to be used, and then selecting pricing as well. The revenue from tables is generated from tables, but is paid quarterly. Am I correct, to the restaurant? So their revenue share is actually sent to them quarterly?
Almost. So we share in that upside. So I'll cover sort of two parts to that question. First and foremost, Tablz does not charge a monthly fee to our restaurants. We're not another item on your bill. We only share that upside. So Gina and Giorgetti, they take 70% and we take 30% of just that $25 upgrade. You can keep 100% of their food and beverage. So that's the business model. So we love it because we only make money when our partners make money, right? And we're very, very vested in your success because, our business depends on it. And then for the restaurant, well, we accumulate all of that revenue. Scott, we have restaurants selling $100 a week, $1,000 a week. We have a restaurant that just did $2,700 in 1 week alone. And so we deposit that money at the end of each month. So we directly connect to their bank account and it gets deposited. So really it's, some restaurants look at that as extra cash for their day-to-day operations, and others are looking at that as a rainy day fund, and others are using that, for tuition for their kids. It really changes businesses, but they found money they didn't have before.
Right. It's fantastic. Especially for those restaurateurs that struggled so hard through COVID, through the pandemic, inflation, and everything else that's involved now.
For sure.
It's rare for them to find an addition to their business that will generate revenue so easily without many changes to them. So your team goes in and photographs. Tell me a little bit more about that.
We just need a clean dining room. So, if you're 5,000 square feet, it might take us 45 minutes to an hour. If you're 15,000 square feet, it might take us 2. But if you've seen those 3D cameras that spin and we capture that space. So Very, very easy. What we like to say is we can do daytime, we can do nighttime. About 70% of our restaurants want that candlelit, but others have big, beautiful windows that they want that natural light pouring in. So we really work to stage it right, because these are 4K cameras. They catch those little details. And they're they're pretty stunning in that way. So very, very easy for the operator to do so. And I was going to show you a quick little example as well, but very, very simple on that end.
Yeah, no, go ahead. If there are any more examples, I'm sure I'm sure our viewers would love to see more. So certainly go ahead.
Absolutely. So here's an example of a beautiful daytime shoot in Phoenix and Scottsdale, Palma, part of the flagship group. We would have a bowling lane now, this cool retro sort of Boogie Nights bowling lane with them, and a sushi restaurant. But again, you can just sort of see the quality. And this restaurant in particular, Gina and Giorgetti have those very, very specific booths that really matter to them and their guests. And again, we're working with them to look at some of their dining, like larger scale dining seating. But, here at Palma, they have so many different types of seating, from these big couch areas to these really cool four tops where, again, there's these sort of clusters the way I like to see it. So such diverse seating. So they're a great example as well. And that's actually something that I do want to point out, that we're really looking at dining rooms, again, not just from necessarily a table perspective. So you can get a specific seat like you saw at Frank Sinatra's table at Gina and Giorgetti. But in the case of Palma here, there was that grouping of tables there. So, operators can look at these in terms of what we call clusters. So, take those booths along the wall. Well, you don't need to sell that specific booth potentially, but one or four of those, or two out of the four, we can help you pre-sell. So, again, we really look at each dining room and we work with you to customize that. And at any given time, Scott, we aren't looking for much more than 15 to 20% of the total real estate that we sort of help concierge with you before. And this is the very last thing I'll sort of say about the operations front. Our system shuts off before your service begins. So we're not trying to upgrade that table at 6:30 for 7 p.m. and throw your whole Tetris game into a loop. Like, our system shuts off either right before service, so whenever your manager comes in for pre-shift, or at midnight the night before. So let's say it's Friday, 7 p.m. Well, you can purchase that table up till 2 p.m. that afternoon, or midnight the night before. And therefore, when you come in, everything's already set in your floor plan. And that is probably the number one success we've seen from an operations standpoint that our partners have really, really loved. You're not logging into another tablet. Everything's still in your system, and it is just as easy as that, plug and play.
Other questions? Anything else we should add for our restaurateurs as they ponder this idea and consider it? Anything else we can add?
I just like to, speak honestly. Like, change is hard, Scott. Like, we get it. We've been, as an industry, not only has it been 25 years since Open Table, but, they just digitized something that we were doing already, picking up the phone, people walked in. We were doing that just on a piece of paper, and they convinced us to do it online. And I think we get it. A lot of operators, it takes a moment, because, we're helping with some of that inventory management and helping make those guests. But so first and foremost, if you think about this, like, we are the last industry to get there, and we're a team that is all restaurant people, and we're really authentically working to make sure that this is done by restaurant people the way it should be. Like, I have managed so many floors. I've played the Tetris game on so many different reservation systems, and we need this. This is coming. This is inevitable. This is happening in our industry. And I think the good news, the reason you and I are even on this call, is because, we're a team that really, really cares. But we get it that there might be that emotional reaction first, because change is hard. But the good news is it's guest opt-in. They 100% voluntary. No one needs to use this if they don't want to use this, right? But the good news is that for every single operator that was the first adopter in 2022 with us, well, heck, they're seeing unbelievable results, and they're expanding properties. So what's great is we'd really encourage any single operator to work with us, any hospitality groups, just even start with one property. And we haven't had a group yet that hasn't gone from one property to 2 to 5 and so forth. So take baby steps with us. We're here for the long run, and I think that's probably the biggest point I'd like to make. That isn't just about how it works.
Right. Tell me something I know that's going to be a question posed to me DiRōNA awarded restaurants from Bermuda to Hawaii, from Mexico to Alaska. Are you covering every region?
We are, yeah. We're live from Miami to San Francisco to Ottawa, Canada, right? And we have had a lot of inbounds even from Europe. Never mind, we've actually had a Caribbean restaurant reach out to us. So we're looking at opportunities. We love Mexico. We'd love to see some of these really cool restaurants in some of the more remote regions. So within reason, we can get to most islands. We are bound by these KR contractors, but the global reach is in any major, well, even minor, wide regions and cities, we have coverage. So if not, we'll work really hard to figure out how to get one of those cameras to you, but hasn't been an issue so far.
Wonderful. Chicago National Restaurant Show coming up next month in May. You'll be there, am I right, with a booth?
I will be. Yeah. I'll be there with a couple of my team members. Love the city. Excited to spend some more time in there. We have some extraordinary partners. We talked about Gina and Giorgetti. And more joining, a really cool kindling in the Willis Sears Tower there, an incredible property. So again, really a great city with some great properties, and I look forward to being there that weekend.
Good. And we have for DiRōNA awarded restaurants, there's a contact at Tablz directly that anybody with any questions, excited to join with the program, there's somebody that they can reach out to, correct?
For sure. First and foremost, our website, there's a 24-hour someone, that can answer questions. Steph, one of our co-founders, Steph, it's just STEF at Tablz, TABLZ.com. Just like the website and the company name, very easy. She's a big part of our partnership and expansion, one of the co-founders. And so honestly, myself too, please feel free to reach out direct. I'm no stranger. I know all of our partners deal with them, and a big part of this. So, Frazer at Tablz as well. Lots of ways to get to us, and we'd love to hear from you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. I can't say enough. Congratulations. We wish you nothing but success. It's something I think the industry was in well need of. So we're excited to see you and your future success with us.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time with me today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Frazer Nagy, everyone, CEO at Tablz. Visit them in Chicago if you have a chance. They will have a booth there at the National Restaurant Show, and we'll make sure you have Steph's email address to reach out to with any questions. Everybody, as always, thanks for watching.